Today, we are going to talk about one of the more bashed on albums in the Iron Maiden discography, Fear of the Dark. Many fans quite dislike the 90s era of Iron Maiden, mainly because of their slight change in sound and Bruce Dickinson leaving in 1993. But I feel like these albums get hated on way too much, especially in Fear of the Dark and The X Factor. The music during this era was still really good in my opinion, and I feel like many fans don't see that or just not give these albums a chance. Now don't get me wrong, I totally understand the hate for the 90s albums of Iron Maiden. They just made Seventh Son 2 years before the 90s, which was a huge classic for the band. But things kinda fell apart after that. Adrian Smith left the band shortly after, which left a lot of fans disappointed. But the fans totally didn't expect what Iron Maiden was going to write after that.
Oh my God!
Then once the 90s started, Iron Maiden made No Prayer for the Dying, which was a pretty big sound departure from their past works. They decided to go for a more street-style approach, kinda like the first two albums, but for a band like Iron Maiden whose 80s era was full of complicated songwriting and lots of epic moments. This direction was just a huge disappointment. Now this album wasn't a huge sound departure. This is not a whole other genre of music, it's still progressive metal, but the tracks are a lot shorter and more simple. Plus Bruce Dickinson changed his vocal style by trying a more raspy and rough approach instead of his high soaring clean vocals we all know and love. Personally, I like this album and I think there are some great songs on it, but in my opinion this wasn't a good direction to go. So I totally understand the hate for No Prayer for the Dying and the rest of the 90s albums, but I still think Iron Maiden wrote some great music. No Prayer has a lot of catchy moments and I don't think Bruce Dickinson does a bad performance. But we're not talking about No Prayer. This video is about Fear of the Dark. Fear of the Dark is probably the best album from the 90s era of Iron Maiden. This was a much better direction than No Prayer for the Dying. The songs are a lot heavier, more dark, and there are a lot more interesting and unique songwriting elements that were not present in No Prayer for the Dying. In my opinion, I think Bruce Dickinson's raspy vocals fit in this musical direction, and he also sings clean for a good portion of this album. Even if he did want to leave Iron Maiden, he still did a great performance on this album. You also have Janet Jers, Adrian Smith's replacement, who in my opinion does a great job on this album. His solos did kinda suck in No Prayer for the Dying, but I think he really stepped up his game in Fear of the Dark. There are tons of amazing solos in this album. Now even though Fear of the Dark is a lot better than No Prayer, fans do bash this one just as much, and it makes me mad that so many people only focus on one or two songs on here and say that the rest of the songs suck. Let's go over all 12 of these tracks and see if they suck just as much as the fans say. Spoiler alert, they don't. Be Quick or Be Dead. This song is one of the most badass Iron Maiden songs in their discography. This one has a really frantic and spooky riff that is one of my favorite Iron Maiden riffs, and the whole song is really fast and aggressive. They have never sounded this aggressive and dark before. Bruce Dickinson's vocals are really rough, but I think it fits the song perfectly, being really dark and aggressive. The guitar work all over this song is amazing, especially the solo in the middle by Janet Jers and Dave Murray. It's a really great solo and one of my favorites from this album. Overall, I love this song, and this is easily one of the best songs from Fear of the Dark, and is one of my favorite Iron Maiden songs in general. You can't be an Iron Maiden fan and say Be Quick or Be Dead isn't badass. It is one of their most fast and aggressive songs they have ever put out. This song deserves as much recognition as their more popular hits. From Here to Eternity. This song definitely sounds like it belongs in No Prayer for the Dying. It's a similar song to something like Holy Smoke and Hooks in You, but I think it's way better than those songs. I quite dig this song actually. It's pretty catchy and I don't mind the riffs and the vocals. The chorus may be a little annoying but it doesn't repeat too much. The best part of the song is definitely the solo by Dave and Janik. They work so well together in this album, not as much as Dave and Adrian, but Janik is still a great guitar player, especially in this album. In my opinion, I think this is a great song, but it's definitely one of the weaker songs off this album, mainly because it's a more radio-friendly song, but I never skip this song. If you don't like this just because it's too cheesy or mainstream, you might be overreacting. Here we are to one of the greatest Iron Maiden songs ever, Afraid to Shoot Strangers. I adore this song. This is easily a top 5 Iron Maiden song for me. This song is just perfect in every way. The songwriting is really unique. Even though Fear of the Dark is kinda a dark album, this song is really melodic and atmospheric. I absolutely love the 2-minute long intro, and then right after that is one of the best guitar melodies I have ever heard. That section just sounds beautiful. You can't go wrong with the guitar playing on this album. But then after that section, the band then explodes into the second half of the song, which is really fast and aggressive. This album has a lot of aggressive moments, but the solos in this section are fucking phenomenal. The first one is played by Janik, which is really awesome, and the second one by Dave is just ear-melting. These solos are some of the best solos from this album. In my opinion, this song is Iron Maiden at their very best. In terms of songwriting and playing ability, this song is a very unique Iron Maiden song, and I wish this song would get as much praise as some of their other popular songs. This one deserves more recognition. Fear is the Key is kinda a filler track in this album, but it's definitely not bad. It is listenable and the instrumentation is just fine. I actually do like that second chorus later on in the song when Bruce says the title of the song. It sounds pretty cool, but overall I don't think the riffs are spectacular, just average, and the song does kinda drag on for a while. It shouldn't be over 5 minutes. Overall this song is just okay to me. I don't skip it, but it's definitely one of the weaker tracks from this album. Childhood's End. This song is extremely underrated. I absolutely love this song. What makes Fear of the Dark stand out in the Iron Maiden discography is that it has a lot of really melodic guitar lines and a unique atmosphere. This song is really melodic and atmospheric. The guitar work in this song is just amazing, and Nico McBrain does some pretty interesting drumming. This is one of the most unique Iron Maiden songs in my opinion. I just love how melodic this song is, especially in the middle section. Those guitar melodies just sound phenomenal. Overall, I love this song and it is another highlight track for me in Fear of the Dark. This song is so unique for how melodic and atmospheric it is. More fans need to know about this song and appreciate it. Tasting Love is another unique song from Fear of the Dark, because it is a ballad, and Iron Maiden never usually write ballads. I think this song is great. I really love the chorus and the way Bruce sings it, but I don't love this song a whole lot. I just think there are a few sections that kinda drag on for a while. I just think this song could have been a little more interesting, but I still think this is a great song, just a tiny bit weaker than some other tracks on this album. If you like Iron Maiden and ballads, you will probably like this song. The Fugitive is another really underrated track from Fear of the Dark. I really like this song. It's pretty fast and aggressive, but it also has some really great melodies in the verse and chorus. That's what I love about Fear of the Dark. It is dark, but it has some of Iron Maiden's best melodies in my opinion. I really like the riffs in this song, and the solos in the middle section is also really good. I'm not sure who plays which solo, but it just shows that Dave and Janek are amazing guitar players. Overall, this song is really good and underrated. I wish more fans could see how good this song actually is, one of Iron Maiden's most underrated tracks. Here's yet another underrated track from this underrated as hell album. Chains of Misery is pretty bluesy sounding, and it is really catchy. It's just a fun song. But what really makes this song stand out to me is the Dave Murray solo in the middle. It is definitely one of the best solos from this album, and is one of Dave's best solos in my opinion. It sounds so melodic and unique. I just love it. Overall, this is a really fun and catchy song, but the solo is what makes it really amazing. This song needs to get noticed more.
Now here can you see me? Kiss him out, act man. When the room goes cold, tell me you can feel me, 'cause I'm here.
Sadly, not every song is perfect on this album. There are two fillers on here that I think are absolute trash. The first one is The Apparition. I just find this song really boring and uninteresting. There is barely any instrumentation, and Bruce doesn't seem to be too engaged in the song. It's a forgettable song, but the middle section is actually really good. I really like that solo. I just wish it was the whole song. In my opinion, this is one of Iron Maiden's weakest songs, but the amazing solo in the middle makes this song a little more interesting. I fucking love this song. Judas Be My Guide is definitely one of my favorite Iron Maiden tracks. It is really melodic and has some amazing guitar lines, and Bruce Dickinson's vocals sounds really great. Probably his best performance on this album. This song is so melodic and catchy, and it has one of the best Iron Maiden choruses ever. And it also has one of the best solos from this album by Dave Murray. What an amazing solo he plays. Judas Be My Guide is Iron Maiden at their best in my opinion. This is one of their most melodic and catchy songs. Somewhere in Time level good, and I cannot believe how underrated this track is. If you're an Iron Maiden fan, this is a must listen. Weekend Warrior is the other garbage track from this album. This is definitely one of Iron Maiden's worst tracks. This song is just stupid. I don't like the melodies, the instrumentation isn't very good, except for maybe the solo, and it is way too long. This song is really repetitive and some sections drag on for too long. This song is really forgettable and I say skip it.
Just look at you now.
Here we are to the best song from this album, and would probably be my third favorite Iron Maiden song, Fear of the Dark. This is the only really popular track off this album and many fans consider this one of their best songs, and for a good reason. It's fucking epic. It captures the dark atmosphere really well while being really melodic. This song has the perfect theme to it, and the songwriting is some of the best in an Iron Maiden song. I love the acoustic intro, and the verse and chorus just sound so amazing and epic, with Bruce Dickinson doing one of his best performances. And another thing that makes this song really amazing is the middle section. There are lots of amazing guitar lines being played throughout, and the solos are so good, especially the Janick Jers solo. To all the Janick haters that like this song, Janick plays this solo. Fear of the Dark is one of the best Iron Maiden songs for a reason, and I'm so glad that this is one of their best songs. You can never go wrong with this song. Fear of the Dark is one of the most underrated and unique sounding albums Iron Maiden has ever put out. This one stands out in their discography for having a dark atmosphere, but also having some of their best melodies. The production is also really good on this album, definitely one of their best sounding albums. So if you didn't like this album, I hope I changed your mind. And make sure to subscribe to my channel for more content like these. Now go listen to Fear of the Dark.